Well, hello everybody. Welcome to my kitchen here in Rehoboth, Delaware. We thought we'd stir up the chat a little bit, no pun intended, and kind of make this a bit of creative endeavor. Obviously, the purpose of the ISTAT Chats is more of a fireside setting, or in this case, fire from the stove, to have a casual discussion with people you know well, share stories, share war stories, anecdotes, thoughts for the future, thoughts for today. Obviously, we're going through a very challenging time these days, and a lot of us are stuck on Zoom calls, Google calls, and the like, and we're used to staring into a small little black dot as our communication with our friends. But we thought it'd be best to take this a little bit a step further, be a little creative, hopefully open the door for others to do so as well, and kind of we've learned, I guess, throughout all our TV appearances or like watching people at TV that we're letting each other into our homes and our lives more so than ever. So in that vein, hopefully this will be a fun, casual discussion, cooking over a stove here, and hopefully not a first-hand account witness of me burning down my kitchen. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Christine Rovelli. She is a good friend of mine. You might know her if you've checked her LinkedIn background. She's got quite a few feathers in her cap: ING, Citi, RBS, Morgan Stanley, some pretty heavy-hitting Wall Street firms, and now she's VP Group Treasurer and Head of M&A at Finnair. And so she has been, in the industry for a while. We have had some good fun times together. We've worked together on a couple projects. It's been great, and I consider her a dear friend, and I'm happy that we're able to do this together. So just a little bit of background. Christine enjoys many things outside of her time in Helsinki and running an airline on the treasury side. She also enjoys running marathons, and she's also a test cook, a test kitchen cook. So being the fact that maybe in my previous years of running marathons and triathlons behind me, and the logistics of just doing this kitchen chat is a little bit more formidable than expected, we chose the kitchen chat over the running a race together, which would be not a pretty sight. And so and Christine had the idea that we cook together. So, but technical challenges availed us, and I'll be cooking and she'll be telling me what to do. So that would be the first time, because she knows more about this than I do. So welcome, Christine Rovelli. I hope you are on camera now. Hopefully you're enjoying a glass of wine and enjoying kind of what we're going together with this. Look at that. Look at that. I need more wine here as well. But so
first the rice, then you.
I know. It's noon here. So you're in Paris.
See,
I'm in Delaware.
There.
By the way,
perfect.
By the way, we have two things here. Your parents never told you to cook with electrical items on the stove or on the countertop. So I've got a myriad of wiring here surrounding me. So I look good. And two, there's a hurricane coming. So, we've got that going for us. So maybe in tomorrow at this time, thank goodness we're not doing it now because we probably would have lost power. But you look great in Paris as always. I love the round window in the background, and I'm looking forward to cooking. What are we cooking today?
We are cooking, you are cooking. I'm directing you to cook risotto alla milanese, which is risotto with saffron. So excellent. I think you've got your ingredients teed up. Can we have a look, or can you start talking us through what you got?
Let's take a look. We are using two cameras today because we're fancy like that, and we should have a view of the amazing thing about risotto. And please correct me, is that it's simply an Italian rice dish. So we have arborio rice, we have wine, we have broth, we have salt and pepper. We have butter, which is crucial to every recipe, as you well know, Parmesan cheese, onions, and a little parsley. And then, of course, saffron, which goes to, I think, cost more than crack heroin when you have to go to the supermarket to purchase. But alas, here we are. So,
yeah.
And definitely more than jet fuel. I think it's about $20 an ounce or something. So, or more than that. Crazy. It was $20 a container, and you got like 0.009 ounces. So, but I think probably you tell me. I mean, obviously you have the recipe in front of you. I have the ingredients, and here we go.
All right. So first we turn the stove on. If it's not already on, you want a relatively high heat. I see that you have a glorious gas stove, and I'm already jealous of it.
Thank you.
So
Hopefully
you're
I'm not
gonna
going
want to
to,
put it on, yeah,
okay.
like a 6 or even a 7 if you're feeling brave. Maybe you
How
don't.
about
I
just
know they say,
between medium and
never
high?
film with children animals. Maybe let's not make that children animals or gas stoves. So maybe 6. Throw some butter in there.
Okay.
Wait for it to
So
melt.
I have chosen Amish rolled butter. Not that I'm giving any props to the Amish people and their ability to make butter. Um, I have enjoyed in all my travels, I will say, and correct me if I'm wrong, in all my travels, it's weird to say that you like butter, but French butter, Irish butter, European butters, Americans don't do butter as well. I think it's the fat content. I'm hoping the Amish get this
It's a
right,
different
but
water content. Yeah, it's a different water
yeah.
content. So if you have like a croissant recipe or something like that, you got to be super sure that it's written for the country that your butter is from. That's a fun fact. But yeah, chuck that in
So
the pan.
yep, we're good. We got
Yeah.
butter going. It has a nice sizzle. Hopefully we don't brown it too quickly. Um, but this is salted
Yeah,
butter as
ideally
well.
you don't
Thank
want
you,
to
almond
brown
folks. Yeah. Should we put the onions in now?
it. No, wait until the butter is all melted.
Ah, you're killing me. I want to put the onions in. So in prepping this, right, we did a chopped up a full onion. Um, and what was also important with this while this is cooking and is the fact that the broth that you have to use has to be warm, right?
Right. Otherwise, you stop the rice from cooking every single time you dump it in, and that's bad because you pretty much have to stir for the entire time it's cooking. Some people say you don't, but I found that it's better if you do. The reason is because there is a lot of starch in short grain rice, and the starch is what combines with the chicken stock to give you that creamy consistency. You can actually make risotto with any kind of rice. It's just not going to be as creamy as it will be if you use the short grain rice. Another
I
fun
like that
fact for you.
fact. Okay, so can I put the onion in now?
You're just dying. Yes, you can put the onion in now,
Okay.
and you just want to sweat it. This is sort of a flavor base. So just wait until they're
Hopefully that's not
translucent.
too loud.
I
So
can't
that
even
should
thing
what
actually.
sweat now a little bit, get a little tender.
Yeah, exactly. Just wait until they're translucent. You don't want to brown them because you don't want that flavor in there. But yeah, because saffron is super delicate. I know a lot of people like to put broccoli or something in there, but you'll overwhelm the flavor fairly quickly. So you want to go easy on it. So, and after you're done with this,
Well, and I think
we're
this
gonna
is
have
the
to pick a
thing.
race to train for because it's quite a heavy dish. I took a lot of flack for
Yeah.
suggesting it because it's never made in the summer. Apparently,
So
it's only winter.
what was the last part?
You only make this dish typically in the winter when it's very cold. So we're a little off
Okay.
cycle with this, but
So
rain counts. Rain counts.
hurricanes, rain. Like I usually like lasagna when it snows, like snow lasagna,
Yeah.
because what is better than not better than an al forno dish of hot bubbling molting cheese and meat to kind
Oh
of
yeah,
as you come in after digging out snow. I'm sure Helsinki they make the same outside of maybe reindeer. But
probably yeah, yeah. Definitely melted cheese. Melted cheese with everything. I
definitely,
think that's universal in cold climate cuisine.
yeah. All right. So this is sitting. What I thought was
All right.
interesting is like 'cause I think risotto is a very flexible dish. That people were telling me you could use beet juice in it as well. You could do tomatoes. You could do a myriad of fun things to make risotto a little bit. Obviously, this risotto dish is the basic, I guess, for a lot of stuff, but and probably is a recipe handed down from generation to generations. Simply enough, but obviously it's the technical that makes it right, and the not trying to make gruel. Which, by the way,
Yeah.
I did once. I made turkey. I thought I was going to be fancy for my friends for Thanksgiving, and I thought I'd make pumpkin risotto. And as we well know,
Oh.
that risotto doesn't transport very well. So what happened was I
Mhm.
made this wonderful pumpkin risotto, and by the time we had to have Thanksgiving dinner, it was close to paste, if not pumpkin gruel. It still tasted fine, but it was a little bit. You could probably put bricks together with it. So that was my lesson learned on my first risotto. So
Yeah, and that's kind of what arancini does, right? You just roll those up with a piece of cheese. There's no gratuitous cheese in Italian cuisine. It always has a purpose. You roll it up, throw it in a frying pan, and off you go. There's always a way to save it.
Very true. So my onions are caramelizing a little bit, so we don't want that, right?
We don't want that. Yeah, we don't want that. So if they're good, then throw the rice in.
We got a little brownness here, so that's a little bit too much, right?
Well, you want to just get them translucent. So it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. Throw the rice in.
Okay. Well, should I do the wine? Should we do the rice first and then? Yeah. Okay.
Rice first.
So
rice first.
We're looking at a cup and a half of rice. Is that the imperial version of this?
Yeah. Yeah, and the reason why you want to do the rice first, just another fun fact, is because you want to toast it a little bit. What that does is it locks up some of the starch so it doesn't become gruel right away. Once you start adding the liquid to it, then it's going to release the starch. So what you want to do is sort of, lock up some of that in there so that it stays a little bit chewy. So again, you just want to sort of get the rice to the point where you can see through it a little bit. You don't want it to toast, actually.
So tell me when you started cooking. What was the impetus of your cooking pastime? Obviously a long record in aviation, but what was where did cooking come in?
It didn't come in until very, very late for me. I was north of 30, which was just last year and many years before that. But anyway, what happened was basically I just never cooked. Never. I used to get letters from the gas company in New York City asking me if I still wanted my gas connection because I hadn't used it in so long. And then one day, a friend of mine who was a trader at Credit Suisse sort of said, "Oh, I'm having a bunch of people around my house on Saturday night. You want to come?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I walk in, and we're all sitting down to this meal, and I'm like, "This is fantastic. Where did you get it?" And he's like, "Oh, I made it." And I'm like, No, you didn't make this. This is impossible. I remember to this day, it was Union Square Cafe's braised short rib recipe. Turns out he had been going to cooking lessons to learn to cook, and I was like, "Sorry?"
I'm gonna put the wine in.
I didn't
think
get
it's
it.
Time.
Yeah, there you go. A little wine for you, a little wine for the rice. Rice first.
That's right.
Yeah, so like a cup and a half. And of course, you're using the dry measure.
A little sound.
Yeah. Yeah, you should use the liquid measure because the volumes are different, but that's only really important in baking.
Yeah.
This is where sort of the geekiness comes out. Now you start to stir. Go for it. And this is the largest volume you're going to put in, basically.
Sorry, what was that last part?
This is the largest volume you're going to put in at one time. From now on, when you do the stock, you're going to do it in smaller rounds. And the reason you do wine, by the way, is for the acidity. If you don't want to do wine for whatever reason, you don't have to. But remember, if you want to add something like lemon juice, or some people add like a wine vinegar, the acidulation or whatever of wine, of white wine at least, is like just below 1%. It's like 0.9. But lemon juice is 5%, and vinegar is going to be like 2.5%. So if you're going to add something other than wine, definitely do not do it in the same proportion because unless you like stuff that's super sour. Just, throwing that out there. Yeah. Well, I mean, to me it would. So yeah, anyway, good. So the wine is in. You're not stirring. I don't see your arm moving.
I'm just intent on your factoids. I'm loving this. So back to your cooking story.
Thing. So this guy, no, you can't. No, you didn't make this. I don't believe you. But actually, he had. And so I was like, well, maybe I can cook like that or learn to cook like that. And, so over a period of years, I bought myself a cookbook. I made a lot of mistakes, a lot of awful things. But what I really liked about it is kind of what I like about the job I do, which is it's quite detail oriented. You can geek out quite a bit, but as long as you do what you're supposed to do, you pretty much get the results you're supposed to get. And so, it just kind of grew from there. I prefer baking actually to cooking because it is very, very geeky in terms of you have to weigh everything and, your flour has to have a certain protein content, but, it's a good thing to do. It's kind of a creative outlet and, it's something to do sort of at the end of a long day. Now there's a liquid measure. That's very good. Don't add that all at once.
Nope.
Yeah. That should be good. And I'll keep stirring. Yeah, what you don't want to do is like make it soupy, because then the rice grains don't don't touch each other, and then they don't release any starch, and then it's not creamy. They just swim around, and it's boring. Yeah, so that's how I started
cooking.
Can
I put the saffron in now?
No, don't put the saffron in until like halfway through. And did you bloom the saffron in hot water or hot broth? No, probably not.
I didn't.
If you do that.
Can I put that when I heat the broth up? Can I put the saffron in that?
Yeah, you can. Sure you can.
Okay.
But don't add it right now.
Okay.
So yeah, so the vast majority of my life I haven't been cooking. It's only been in the past 10 years or so that I've really started to do it as a hobby, and then more like I would say it's a passion.
Well, and it's also therapeutic, right?
Yeah. You have no idea. Like the last, since the COVID crisis started, you have no idea how many eclairs I've made. I mean, it's a stupid amount. You get to the point, it's like, it's been a bad day, huh? Yeah, the kitchen's full of eclairs. It's just something fun and relaxing to do, to take your mind off everything else, I guess.
Well, everybody here is making sourdough bread. That seems to be like, they all get starters, and it's like every picture on Instagram is sourdough bread. Bread. Like, okay, fair enough.
Which is all fine. Nothing wrong with that either. But, for me, it's like sourdough takes a long time to make and stuff. I mean, I make bread too. That's quite fun, but, you got to pick your favorite. And for me, it's pastry for sure.
I'm gonna put the stuff in the microwave because I'm gonna put the broth in the machinery over here.
Yeah. Well, that would be a good opportunity then to talk about how we actually both got started in this industry, or at least you did. Because I think I met you when you were at MBA, right?
Yep, that is true. That is very. I was going to bring up that story that we met. That the late Bob Agnew met you first, and came back and said, "This Christine Jakumovich back then in your ING days is quite the firecracker." And so I got to meet you in San Francisco for the first time at a air finance conference, or as I was doing a workshop with some of our esteemed colleagues, and you chew me apart. Like, you add questions left and right, and it was, it was awesome. And I think from that point on, we always kind of had a kindred spirit of the technical side, because for a banker, I love my banker friends, but you had more technical knowledge than some, and or most, and you were able to, and it became a very, very good granular discussion, which I think in some cases people don't really understand the nuances these days of how granular some of the discussions have to be, and especially now, right? Because the returns of deals are so much baked in on the fact that you're down to the second decimal point to get, and it's all on the technical side. So your knowledge of that, and you've challenged me over the years. I do not deny that. Believe me, many late nights and early mornings of you challenging my models, and but it's great because people should be paying attention to that stuff, more so than ever. And that's so yeah, that was ING. Then you went to grad school, and talk about that. I get my boss.
Yeah, so I spent 2 years in Chicago, but then when I came out, I went right back into investment banking, and I went to Citigroup and worked in New York City for a while, doing a lot of aircraft leasing deals as it happened. I remember that was the first wave of all the yield vehicle IPOs. So all the AWAS and the Aircastle and Genesis and all those guys going public with their yield vehicles, and then levering up and doing it again. So that was quite a good time. And then I moved to London. I kind of started doing more shipping.
I kind of just say that, and I think you and I discussed this, is that we missed out on the fun stuff. I think before we started, the industry was a lot more trading of aircraft, a little bit more horse trading, I guess, if I can use that term. And I think you and I you've been in longer than I have by a couple of years, but I didn't join the industry till '97. And I think before that, it was a little more kind of Wild West cowboy. And then we get in, and it's like, oh no, we have to make things a little more, it was a different atmosphere.
Yeah. Yeah, which is not entirely bad. I mean, more safe and not safety, but more conservatism let more people invest in the sector, and so it broadened its appeal to a different base, which gave the industry more money, which gave it more opportunity to grow, and really put it where it is now. Everybody cares about aviation. It's a big investor. It's a big asset class for investors. A big exotic one, I guess. And if it had still been sort of the cowboy, I got your 747 right here kind of place, then I don't know if we would have that. So, I mean, there's good things and bad things. But mostly now,
and I think
it's pretty fun.
yeah. Well, and it's changed. And so, what do you feel now between kind of those days and what we're dealing with now? I mean, your career has spanned from investment banking, well, let's say your banking to investment banking, and now to capital markets deals, and now to a flag carrier in Europe. I mean, A, how did you kind of make that transition? And B, where would you kind of, for those that are doing this now, who kind of say, hey, I like aviation, but I want a different, maybe an angle of attack, if you will, a different view. That's a big, that to be on both sides is tough.
Yeah, well, I guess it just depends on it's the age old question. Do you want to plan your career or do you want to be opportunistic? And so, I mean, a lot of people plan their career. I'm going to do this and I'm going to go here and I'm going to be a managing director. And, that's all fine and it works really well. And I'm sure they're really happy. But I've always kind of wanted to do something fun. And so whenever I started thinking about a new position or a new place to work, my first question was always like, are these people I want to work with and are they doing something fun? And that was largely when I left banking and went to Finnair. That was largely the question that I answered for myself, which was, don't add too much there. Okay, that's good. I like this. So that it was like, are they doing something fun? And they have a lot of plans, both for restructuring as well as for growth, that I felt like I could really make a difference doing or helping them with. And so that prompted me to jump over to the corporate side. And I guess for me, it was the banking career was invaluable because I stuffed a lot of experience in a very short period of time, just because you're working so much and you have such a large breadth of deals at any given time. You're working on 3 or 4 or 5 different things at least. And then you've got a bunch of stuff in the hopper, and then you've got a bunch of stuff that's already done, and you got to think about the next thing. So I was able to sort of have a lot of exposure to a lot of different types of products, a lot of different types of clients. Do I like the airline side, the leasing side, the banking side, the financing side, the structured product side, debt, what is it? And then sort of bring all of that to bear on a corporate job. And actually, it's been a lot more fun than I expected it to be because you can have a real impact, or at least that was what I discovered was important to me. I have an impact when I go to work every day. Whereas, in banking, sometimes you go to work and as hard as you try, you don't get that deal or it doesn't close on time or, something else happens and, you got to start back at square one. And so for me, that was a little bit frustrating, but now it's much better.
Well, and to be honest, Finnair is a perfect airline. It's got it's a global flag carrier. It's got a very diverse fleet, wide body, narrow body, regional jets. You've rebranded or kind of made the brand that you're the epicenter of getting to Asia easier. Might have been tough for this last go around with the pandemic, but it is your ability, and it's a very tightly run ship. So your ability to make impact, I think it is very more acute than maybe a larger airline. When there's a lot when you're trying to get up against water.
Yeah, because you just gotta do what needs to get done. You don't have huge divisions of people who do nothing but crunch numbers or who do nothing but this, that, or the other. It's like if you need something done, you pretty much have to figure out how to do it, which I actually like. It keeps it from getting too repetitive every day. So I see some questions starting to on the side here. We'll get to those at the end, but we're not ignoring them. Don't worry.
I think you're like me a little bit, which has a little bit of ADHD in the positive way, which is I like having different days, different things to work on every day, and being in your position, especially when you're doing strategy and M&A, like That's a lot. That's a lot of hats to wear all at once. You're deep diving on fleet. You're deep diving on the larger state aid stuff. I mean, your exposure is multifaceted. So, what would you, if you had to do it all over again, what would you change? Not Finnair, but your career path. Is there anything you would readjust or have rethought? Not to put you on the spot.
No, it's a tough question, because if I said I would do anything differently, then I probably wouldn't be where I am now. And I really like where I am now and what I'm doing. Could I have, gosh, I don't even know. Could I have made the switch sooner? Yeah, probably I could have. Would I have been as effective? Probably not, because I wouldn't have had the amount of experience that I have behind me. Now at the same time, the way most airlines work, you have to be there for quite a while before you start moving around internally. So, maybe that's limited me a little bit. But, if I had to do over again, I'm not sure what I would change, because I think where it got me, I'm pretty happy with.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting because I think we were talking about this on your birthday, sharing a glass of champagne in Austin, which last time we saw each other face to face, which was fun. And
feels like a lifetime ago, yeah.
I know, right? It's might as well be, because I mean, here we are, kind of now talking to each other on the TV machine versus face to face in any given country at any given time. And I know for a lot of people that's there's a lot of challenges with that. And I think in saying that, I think we discussed this, which is we kind of knew we were on the precipice of something. We didn't think it would be a global pandemic that would bring us to our knees, but we knew that there's something out there that's, we know the industry. You and I have now been through 3 cycles, and so there's a lot of people who have never experienced this, and hopefully this is the worst experience, and you learn from it. What would you say to those people?
We said that about 9/11, though, remember?
I know, right? I mean, yeah, but 9/11, global financial crisis, this 9/11 was tough. It was tough. We've learned a lot of lessons. Hopefully, again, we always say this, how worse could it be than this? But these challenges aside, what are we learning from this?
Well, I think there's 2 things. I think the first thing is, as much as we love our devices, and as much as it's kind of like, you almost sit in a crowded room and you spend more time on your phone than you spend with the people in the room with you. I think people have understood, or at least I personally have understood, that I actually do like having those people in the room, even if I choose to ignore them. And the second thing is, and I think it's in a good sense, people are really asking, do I need to go into the same place every day? Can I work from somewhere else? And so you see a lot of the cities starting to rethink themselves, and is this going to work? And maybe we can live in smaller towns. Maybe people who are just starting out, who wouldn't have been able to afford to live in a big city, or would have really struggled to do that, can now work from wherever they are. You might get more people able to work in some of the industries that were usually concentrated, like finance and maybe aviation. You could get more people into the industry that you wouldn't have seen before, because they don't have to move now. It doesn't mean they won't travel, of course, but I think it's kind of freed people up from the idea of, I have to live in X and commute to Y, and then I travel for work. And I think those 2 things are the biggest things I would have taken out of all of this. I mean, leaving the politics and disease fighting stuff aside, that's actually starting to look pretty good.
I know. It's actually turning yellow too, which is nice. Well,
it's going to turn yellow because of saffron. Now you should start tasting it, just to see if it's probably a bit too crunchy still, but just so you get a sense of where you are.
So you're commuting back and forth between Helsinki and Paris, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty regularly. How's that going? How is getting on there? I've been on an airplane since March. So.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, yeah.
Has the world changed that much?
Well, yes and no. It's much less crowded than it was, because fewer people seem to be flying. Of course, there's a lot of the social distancing tape on the floor and stuff like that. Everybody has a mask on. A lot of people have other protective clothing on, such as gloves. I've seen people with goggles and stuff. The in-flight service is slightly different. Some carriers have adapted that to reduce the amount of touch points that the crew has with the passengers. And then I'm sure there's a lot that goes on that you don't see. My company has invested in, deeper cleaning between turns, a lot of protective wear for the crews. And like I said, we changed the surge concept and things like that. So, are people still getting on planes and going places? Yeah. But that doesn't seem to be what's stopping them from going places. What seems to be stopping them is once they get there, what do they do? What kind of experience is it? There's, the bar and wherever that you always like to go to. Oh, now you got to wait outside for an hour and a half because only 30 people can go in there. Are you still going to go there? Well, maybe you'll go somewhere else. But that's a process that people go through. And I think, at least for this year, it seems like a lot of people have just decided, I'm going to have a vacation somehow. But I might try to drive, or I might, take a train, or I might do something else. I might not go that far, let's put it that way. Because then once you're there, if something happens and the country decides to lock down, then what do you do? So it's the uncertainty. That's uncertainty is what hurts all the markets, right? Financial markets, aviation markets, everything. When people don't know what to expect, that's the worst. But if it's like, listen, you get your mask on, you got your check bag in the hold, you get on, you get your cookie and your coffee, you get off, it's the same, you're good. If people know what to expect, then they're fine. But it's when you consistently surprise them and it's an unpleasant surprise, then you really struggle.
Is Finnair getting, do you hear some of the customer discussions, or are you getting feedback without revealing any kind of sensitive secrets? But as an airline, you guys obviously are adapting, you're flying, most airlines are, but are you trying to adjust as being, where's the flexibility in there to make sure you are accounting for those kind of learning lessons, if you will, as an airline, as you go through some uncharted territories? If you could talk about that.
Well, I'm not privy to any feedback. I have to say that. I can say two things, though. First, when we open a destination, the sales are pretty good. So people want to go places. So when they can buy the ticket, they definitely want to buy it. And second, we have a culture internally of always trying to adapt in real time and, listen to the customer feedback and action it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we were doing that stuff. I just am not privy to it. I've been busy doing other things, as you might imagine.
Like saving an airline. I get it.
Saving, no, but let's say stabilizing. How's it? Is it crispy? Too crunchy still?
Yeah, no, it's actually turning. It's just verging out.
Is it getting there?
So that's.
All right, good.
Actually, I think we're probably one more little blop here, and then.
One more turn of the pan, and then you do your mantecare. Okay. Well, let me. I'll just run through a question or two quickly. So one question is, would it work to add shrimp to this recipe? It would. You would want to use shrimp stock. I'm not sure the saffron would work for you, but definitely yes, you can. That's not a problem. And then this is a tough one, Bryson.
And just quick question, when would you add that shrimp? Would you add it in raw in the beginning?
At the end, no.
You put in too much, it'll cook down.
What I would do with shrimp is I would grill it or roast it on its own in the shell, and then take, either leave it in the shell and put it just on the top when you serve it, or take it out of the shell and serve it on top again, in the bowl. But I wouldn't try to cook it in the risotto because it'll cook too fast, I think. So
that's a good question.
Yeah. So the next one's a tough one. So Chicago deep dish pizza or New York style pizza?
Oh,
see, I was born in Chicago, but I spent a decade in New York, so I almost can't answer that question.
I'm going to lean towards New York. Sorry. I do love a thick pizza, but I would long for New York pizza. And being in Delaware, you think we'd have enough New York transplants down here that actually could facilitate that. But there is a pizza truck that has come through that actually has a wood-fired pizza that is probably as close as you can get it. But I'm like, come on, guys. Literally, we are 20 minutes from New Jersey, for better lack of, and as the crow flies, and it could be night and day.
Wow, there's an opportunity for you.
After I perfect the risotto. So, do you miss being in the U.S.? I know you come over a lot to, see
Yeah,
family and stuff.
yeah. Oh yeah, of course I do. I mean, I will probably miss New York until the day I die unless I go back there. But yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, it's such a great place, and it gets, especially lately, it gets such a bad rap. Um, people don't understand that it's full of like super nice people who are, educated and fun, and not at all like the, crazy people you see on some of the talk shows. So yeah, for sure. We actually have a
So
question
I
kind of
think,
going that way about the cultural aspect comparing USA banking with a corporate airline in Finland, different ways of working and thinking. Um, there is and there isn't. I've only ever worked for one corporate, so I can't say if this is sort of a blanket observation about corporates or not, or blanket observation about banking or not. Um, you know, I would say it's, in the US, it's such a big market. It's so much more competitive. There's just a lot more pressure day to day. And needless pressure. Now, looking back, I can say, it probably wasn't all needed. At least in corporate, there's a little bit more of a aiming toward a common goal. Like we all want the company to succeed, and we all work toward that, rather than some of the back channel politics that I tended to see when I was in banking in New York. But I think you would probably see that at any different company of different sizes. So the banks I work for were very large, and the company I work for now is relatively small compared to that. So I'm not sure how much of it is a cultural thing and how much of it is just a corporate versus banking thing.
let's 2 seconds. I've turned off the burner because I think we've evaporated. I think we're ready to go. So should I add the butter now and the cheese, or what would be the?
You turn off the butter, exactly. So you add the butter and the cheese, and it's called mantecare. And what that means, because for your Italian citizenship, do you have to take a language test? I
Thank
mean,
God, no. I mean, that would be. I mean, I can say a few things in Italian, and yeah, no. Luckily, that's.
how did that work? I had to take a language test. Not fair.
I know. You had to take a language test for yours.
Yeah. Well, I had to prove that I spoke the language to a certain level. Yeah.
Hmm. I can
There
say
you go.
let's go, and I can say food things, but that's so I'm now mixing this around.
There you go. Mix, mix,
Um,
mix.
the Amish butter I think is doing well, and
Yeah.
nice yellow color. Let's just add a little more cheese because, as you said, there can be never enough cheese.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. And it
This could
goes
be the
without
best
saying
lunch I've
that
had
did
in a
not
very
come from a
long time.
green can, right?
So what?
That did not come from a green can.
No,
No.
it did not. It came from Costco. Even better.
That's okay. Yeah.
So we get a nice gooey here. So we let it sit for a bit,
There
right?
you go.
Add a little salt and
You
pepper.
let
I
you
did a
put the
little salt and
cover
pepper
on and let
before.
it sit for a couple minutes. Exactly. You get the bowls ready and stuff, and then by the time you got all that set up, then it should be ready.
Should I taste it though first for a little to see if the salt and pepper is to
Yeah.
my liking?
Exactly. Yeah.
Hmm, a little bit, but otherwise, um,
Nice.
I'll be in a food coma after this for a bit. That's
You'll
too
sleep
bad you
through the
can't have some this
hurricane.
time. I know, right? Exactly. So yes, this will be my last meal, ladies and gentlemen, because we won't be here. Delaware will be just float away to the ocean tomorrow. But thanks for joining in. Um, that is
Yeah, if you eat
awesome.
that, you're not gonna
That is,
float, that's for sure.
so what?
If you eat that, you're not gonna float.
No, because I'll be still in a coma. Um, so do we have any? Do we have any more questions?
I don't see any. Let me just check. No, I think we're all good. From the
So
audience, at
it's.
least.
I mean, Yeah, I think we've had it's fun. We have a mixture of cooking questions, and then we have kind of a little bit more of your background.
Yeah.
And so you've got coming up at the end of this month, you're doing a learning lab.
Yep.
What's kind of without taking the wind beneath your wings situation on kind of what you're going to talk about, but what's going to be the general takeaway from that?
Well, it's pretty much, how do you get and protect liquidity in a time when basically everybody else wants it, and everybody wants to see how much you have and make sure that you actually do have it, which is tougher than you might think, and it's already not. I'm sure you don't think it's easy, but it's just basically kind of what you have to do to batten down the hatches and make sure that you can survive a serious liquidity crunch.
And do you feel that there's more? I mean, given kind of not Finnair specifically, but the airline industry as a whole, how do you think things are playing out so far? I mean, we obviously in the U.S. side we've got a lot of federal support, and I'll be honest, when we've looked at advising clients and we look at opportunities, the first thing you have to ask, especially for airlines, is kind of like, is it, it's binary. Will they survive or will they not? If you get past okay, they can survive, then we can start talking about opportunities. But we've never had to do that before. Usually it's kind of like, well, airlines last forever, but obviously we always knew that they didn't have a right to exist in perpetuity, but we've never been challenged at this point. So now we're in a whole new realm, and we know that some airlines won't survive. There will be opportunities. And, so let's take ourselves 3 years from now. What do you think we're going to learn from all this?
Well, I think first of all, I think there are a lot of people who are going to learn what a crisis looks like, that you can survive a crisis, and that, we aren't going to survive as an industry unless, pull together and actually work to make that happen. I've seen my fair share of pretty seriously bad behavior from parties that just didn't know better. Yeah, I understand that's your contract. I understand that's what your remedy is, but do you really want to pull that trigger? Because you're going to blow yourself up too. And there's just I think it goes back to what you said before. There's so many people that just never seen a crisis anyway, let alone one that's bad. That part of what you have to get through is saying, okay, listen, it's going to be okay. Let's calm down. Let's look at the problem. Let's see how to solve it, and then let's move forward. Rather than, I want all this now, and if I don't get it now, then I'm declaring a default. Well, can't actually, and then everybody wants to renegotiate the contract. So I think part of it is just going to be everybody understanding how you get through a crisis and how the relationships that you have and the contracts that you have and everything else sort of help you do that. And then the other thing is, people are going to think a lot harder about the risks that they're taking and try to understand them better, because I think you and I have both discussed, some of the transactions that I have seen, make me wonder really if risk was being priced correctly. And I think we're about to find out. So the problem is with a lot of money floating around with the governments, helping out all the carriers, we won't see right away. Because that's going to help everybody. But, as time goes on and everybody has to adjust to the new reality where, there's a lot less flying going on, at least for a while, that's, I think, where we're really going to see the difference in business models and in risk-taking behavior.
Do you think airlines are prepared to be part of that risk discussion? I know that's a hard question for you to answer because you are an airline, but I think
I'm not an airline.
You brought it up. So is that going to be the new normal? Are airlines going to be prepared to be actively involved in the risk construct for those that have to take the exposure on the asset side and the credit side? Your points are spot. There's been bad deals. And now we're looking at a new realm of opportunities, but those opportunities have to be priced accordingly with the right risk reward profile. Every airline's been called to the carpet, except for maybe two. And their cargo, like it's a different kind of scope. But so we look at this and we say, is there a willingness for the airline community to be actively part of that discussion and say, you're taking a risk on us, we're taking a risk on you. There is a win-win here without kind of a winner takes all, discussion. You don't have to answer that.
That's hard to answer because I think we do that anyway, right? I mean, we are always trying to get the best deal from a financier that we can, and we're very aware of the risk that we are taking, that the financier is taking. And, we both know that at the end of that lease, we might have used it a bit more or, a bit less, frankly. And, we can always argue about the residual value of the aircraft and the maintenance status and everything else. But at the end of the day, and something like this, we can't actually control how much the airplane gets used. It's not going to be used very much, which is better, I guess, in terms of cycles and stuff. But, then you look at, the residual value assumptions. Well, I don't know what your residual value assumption is going to be, and I can't control it, frankly. So if you want to dial that down to give me, a higher price, okay, fine. You're taking less risk, I guess. But, someone else is going to have a different view on that residual value. And so you're probably not going to get that deal. So I don't know how I'm, as an airline, since I'm not a human, I've become an airline in the last 10 minutes, how I'm supposed to sort of, take on more of that risk. What risk am I taking?
Yeah.
Every day we operate, we take a risk. And I think it's worth noting in that context that, the airline is the only one in the value chain that doesn't consistently make a lot of money. So, I would more ask that question of the ones that make significant money in the value chain. Are they taking enough risk for how they're getting paid?
Mm-hmm. No, and I think that's the conversation, right? We're gonna do a lot of Monday morning quarterback when this is all done and kind of recognize what went well, what didn't, and I think, to use your expression, navel gazing, we can't come out of this without really doing a solid look at our assumptions. Everybody should be challenged by this. Everybody should be looking at their internal models and reviewing, did this work, did it not? Even if it did work, well, what made your model work versus somebody else's model? What made your assumptions be more valid than somebody else's assumptions? And what made them be less valid? And I think that's the learning, first and foremost, is we all are in this together. Two, we kind of have to do a little self-evaluation and kind of look inwards a little bit to make sure that we can go forward. And I think, you bring up very valid points on that. And that's, what's the use of a crisis if we can't all learn from this, if that's the best way to put it.
Exactly. Well, we have another question.
Okay.
Looking back, is there something you wish you'd done differently during your career, a certain mistake or lesson you'd like to pass on to young graduates who are starting their careers? Yes, there is. Over communicate. Always ask the question. Never assume. This is tiny stuff. Like when I used to go on road shows as a baby banker, it was stuff like the night before, the next city, you call the car company, is the car coming? You call you check the weather forecast. Could the flight get canceled? Silly things like that. You think someone else is going to do it, or you don't need to do it, or if it doesn't get done, it doesn't matter. It totally matters. Follow up. You can often prevent big things from happening, big bad things from happening when you do stuff like that. Over communicate. Did you get that memo? Did you get, are you reviewing it? It's due at 6. Silly stuff like that you need to get in the habit of doing, and you think you're bothering people. You are not bothering people. It is much better to do that because they say, oh no, I didn't get it. Oh shoot, now you know. Or I didn't know it had to be reviewed by 6. Okay, now you know. Or now you can warn the next person. Actually, it's not going to be reviewed by 6. He needs until 8 o'clock. You always stay on top of little things like that instead of letting them go by. And that, A, you learn a lot by doing that because you have to reach out and talk to people. And B, like I said, you just prevent so many little mistakes from ganging up and becoming a big one.
Never assume, right? Never assume that person who received that email. Never assume that the car is coming. Never assume really anything. That's a lesson to be learned. And communication's tough. but there are ways to do it. You can do it through WhatsApp, text message, email, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. There's no excuse for not communicating.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Back in my day, you had to call somebody. You still can,
And
I guess.
fax them too. We had to use the fax machine, Christine. Don't forget, we had to use the fax
Oh my
machine
God.
and those sucky tubes that go someplace. You put things in there and they just kind of.
Yeah, the bank, the drive-through. Oh my goodness. Yeah, now we're dating ourselves. Now we've lost like half the
I
audience. Um,
I don't like. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is.
yeah.
No, I think that's a good question. And that's a takeaway right there. Yeah. Any other questions? I think we are.
There's
Let's do
one more,
a quick last thought
and
on
it's
the
just,
risotto. Oh yeah.
what is your favorite risotto? Yeah, exactly. What is your favorite one?
This I've never had always good luck with saffron for me personally. So this has been exciting to use the saffron and to be honest, I bought a crap load of spices in Marrakesh 2 years ago, and I had the saffron, and it's kind of at the other location, so I had all the saffron, so I had to buy more, and I really love the taste of saffron, so this is going to be a favorite. But this, like again, shrimp.
Nice.
I'd love to do the beet juice. I'd love to do, you can do mushroom. I mean, I don't know. What about you? Like, what is is this your go-to, or do you do a little more experimentation?
That is a pretty reliable one because almost you have rice all the time and you have chicken stock. You have all the basic stuff all the time that you need to make it. An onion, whatever. But I did one once because I sort of like to riff a little bit. I did a Japanese one, so I used like what is it, kombu broth or something like that. And then I had toasted seaweed and like spring onion and like soy sauce and stuff. So that was my favorite one. I only made it once and I don't remember how I did it, so I can't do it again, unfortunately, but I liked it a lot.
Well, and
Yeah.
I've used mushroom broth before, which is always a nice
Oh yeah.
earthy, kind of more rustic flavor. Sometimes it gets a little bit, yeah, it's not so especially if you've got people who are vegetarian, they don't like to use chicken stock. It's a
Yeah,
vegetable stock, or
exactly.
you do a mushroom stock. That actually a lot of Italian cooking I do use a lot of mushroom stock if you can find it. You used to be able to find it. It used to be pretty ubiquitous, and now there seems to be some kind of embargo here on mushroom stock, which is every time I see it, I buy pallets of it just because I know it's going to go away
Oh
sooner
no.
rather than later.
Yeah, important stuff.
Important stuff. It's the little things, and
Exactly.
it's. Do we have any final questions? I think we're kind of coming close to the end of our fantastic cooking
That's
chat here.
it. Yeah. 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 No,
Good.
we're all done in terms of
Well,
questions.
so I put the parsley on it. I don't know if we saw that last shot.
Good. Let's have a look.
This
Yeah.
looks amazing. Your guidance
Beautiful.
and coaching to this. I wish you could be here, or you were doing your own, but again, this is awesome, and it's been really, a fun time to talk to you. I get to talk to you a lot, but never really on camera with, a couple hundred of our closest friends listening in.
For the
So
heat source. Yeah.
that's a little bit different. I'm excited for your learning lab in a couple of weeks. I think, anybody who's tuning in should tune into that. Christine knows her stuff when it comes to cash flow, liquidity, strategy. I think you've taught me over the years on a lot of things, on the stuff that we've worked together, and I've always appreciated that. Sometimes at 4 o'clock in the morning, yes. And
No better time to learn.
but hey, that's the name of the game. And we are lucky to be in the industry we're at. I hope I get to see you in face to face soon enough somewhere. And really wish you a good summer. And I think anybody who's tuned in, please do go check on to ISTAT Online for further ISTAT chats. I know that we've got Pam Hendry coming up. We've got some other great speakers coming up throughout the next month. We're not back until the end of the month, if not the beginning of September. And for those of you who are about to deal with a hurricane or tropical storm, stay safe. I'm gonna be honest. I get to get on an airplane next week for the first time. I'm gonna go to California for a socially distanced quick trip to Tahoe, just to kind of enjoy a little bit of fresh air and I'll be honest, I'm, for somebody like the two of us who travel hundreds of thousands of miles a year, it's one of those things where I'm envious of people who get on planes. I'm like, I was that guy. But now I am now being, okay, we got to get on a plane. But you kind of got it through it. I mean, you're traveling all the time. So it's, for me, it's kind of like a whole new rebirth on the traveling situation, which, it'll be fine, but it's just weird.
Right. Let us know how it goes.
Yes, everybody will know. So I guess that's it. We are running at the top of the hour. Enjoy your evening, and
Thank
good to
you.
see
Enjoy
you.
your
And thank
afternoon.
you all for joining in. And have a good summer, everybody. Take care, and hopefully we all get to see each other soon.
Thanks everybody for joining, and thanks Bryson for setting up. Enjoy.